Right, this is the video I was least excited about making because, like, place is kind of the git of the four Ps because there's so little you can talk about. But they might ask the question, which channel of distribution is best? And if I haven't shown you this video, a lot of you might be sitting there thinking, I have no idea what they mean by this. But all this means is what are the different ways you can kind of distribute your products, what are the different ways you can sell it to your consumer. And in the exam, I'd say there were four ways you can do it. You can sell it over the internet. Get my little arrow out. Don't go away. It's worth it. There we are. Look, you can sell it over the internet. You can sell it directly to retailers, and that means like you could sell it to Sainsbury's, and then Sainsbury's sell it for you. You can sell it directly to customers, but that would require you to maybe have your own shop. And then the final one is you can sell through a wholesaler, and that's like Costco. That's so you'd put it in Costco, and then people would go to Costco, buy it in bulk. It's like corner shops might buy it in bulk from that wholesaler, and then sell it in their shops. Right, for each one you've got to think about one good thing and one bad thing. Now, if you don't understand one of them, just don't talk about that one in the exam. Talk about the other three. So I'll go for green for advantage and then red for disadvantage. So over the internet, good thing about over the internet is it's cheaper because you don't have to have any buildings. You don't have to pay for rent, so I'll put no rent. That's the first good thing about the internet. The second good thing about the internet is you can sell to a large I don't know what I'm going to say, a large amount of customers. Because, over the internet, anyone from anywhere in the world can buy your product. Right, there are downsides of selling over the internet though. Firstly, you might get lots of returns because people don't know what they bought. So when they get it, they don't like it. And when they return it, that can actually be quite expensive. And the second big problem over the internet is things like security and fraud. That can be actually really expensive. The third thing is as well, you need to have a really good website. There's lots of good things and bad things for the internet. The second one, directly to retailers. So that's like selling directly to Sainsbury's. A good thing about selling directly to Sainsbury's is that, what's a good thing about selling directly to retailers? Okay, Sainsbury's will be able to sell your product in lots of different shops. So you'll have access to many shops. So as soon as you get your product into Sainsbury's, you know you're onto an absolute winner. Because think how many Sainsbury's there are, think how much money you'll be able to make. My mate, I always talk about him, Frank, the milk guy. He's managed to get his milk into all shops in Asda in the southwest. Like, even though he's only making maybe 1p on each pint of milk, he's able to sell loads of them, so he's onto a winner there. But the problem with selling directly to the retailers is they take some of the profit. So you don't actually get to keep all the profit. Now, anyone who can actually read what I've just written there, good on you again. What's another downside of selling to retailers? With the retailers, you have to spend a lot of money to get like the prime location on the supermarket shelf. Like, there's a reason why like all the Cadbury stuff is right in the middle. It's because they pay a fortune to get it. Right, moving on. Right, the good thing about selling directly to customers, like in your own shop, is you get to keep 100% of the profit. You get to put it in exactly where you want it to be in the shop, so you can make sure it looks good in the shop rather than be on like the bottom shelf. Right, the downsides of selling it to customers obviously is you'll need to pay for the rent for your shop. You'll have to pay for workers, and that can be really expensive. Like this final one, through a wholesaler, like this is where you'll just put your product into Costco, hoping that corner shops will then sell your product. That's basically the idea of it. So say you had sweets, you'd have like big boxes of sweets in the wholesaler, and then the corner shop would buy that big box and then sell them individually. Right. The good thing is, the plus side is I'll write it, have to deliver to lots of shops. So instead of having to deliver to all these corner shops, you'd say no, go to the wholesaler and then you can get it yourself. So you only have to deliver to one place. I'd say the downside of a wholesaler is the amount of competition. Because there's going to be hundreds, thousands of products in that wholesaler. How are you going to make sure your product stands out? Another downside, obviously, is the wholesaler is going to want to take a proportion of the profit. Right, they're the four ways. You just need to think about one good thing and one bad thing. That's all you've got to do for that question, and then you'll be absolutely fine. Right, this is a second sort of kind of location / place that you can they could ask you in the question. And they might say, which option is best? Where should this company sell their product? Should they go out of town? Should they go into the city centre? Should they be like locally on the streets, you know, like on a corner shop? And you just got to think about what's good about and bad about each one. Now I'll do this fairly quickly because it's quite easy. Like, what's good about having an out of town shop? You know, like those kind of big curry shops. Well, the good thing is you get lots of space. Can't spell space. That's embarrassing. Okay, the second good thing about out of town is, well, you get lots of space because you can. You know, the reason why you get lots of space is it's cheaper. So it's much cheaper to have an out of town kind of big store. So there's two good things about being out of town. Oh, third good thing is there'll be lots of parking. So for things like you know, where you buy a big TV, like me and my wife actually bought a TV in Newport in Wales, obviously, and we had to carry it through the Newport, the TV together. Like, we couldn't have looked more stupid. We'd be much better going into like an out of town place. But the downsides of out of town is, one, people might not actually go there, so less people potentially. But actually nowadays, almost all shops are going out of town. Like, the kind of city centre is a bit dead nowadays. And the second downside of out of town is, what would be a downside? Let's just stick to the first one. There might be less people. I can't really think of anything else about out of town that's bad about it. Okay, let's go for this one. If people haven't got cars, they're not going to buy your product. So there was this, back in the day, I went to IKEA in London without a car and took the bus there, took the bus back with like an enormous clock. Like, it was the most stupid thing I've ever done. So I suppose, how would you say this? The downside of out of town is people without cars won't have access to your store. Right, moving on to the next one. Advantage of the city centre is there's going to be lots of customers. What's another advantage of a city centre? People might kind of walk to your shop, wanting to go to another shop, they might just walk past yours and decide to go in. It's kind of the same point. But the downside of city centre, and there's a couple of them, is, one, it's really expensive. The second big downside of city centre is there's lots of competition. And then a third one you could say is no parking, or maybe expensive parking. Another example, I once bought loads of weights from an Argos in town, and like, I had to carry it through town, these weights, like 60 kilograms worth of weights. Like, I was on the edge the whole way back. So for certain products, like, it's all well and good having it in town. Like, for example, if you go shopping for food, you don't want to be lugging like 10 bags of stuff through the whole of town to get it to your car. That's why people go out of town. Like, this last one, I really don't know what much you can say about it. You know, what's good about having a corner shop? You know, you can say the good thing about being, like, you could be near to customers, so you're convenient, right? I'm going to make my pen slightly thinner, I can't read anything. But the downside is, being local is, what else is downside of local? And it's also cheaper. Like, the downside of having like a local corner shop is there'll be less. What am I doing there? Less customers, potentially, because there's only going to be like the people on your street. There's this deli that opened up at the bottom of my street once, thinking, well, if everyone on that street goes to the deli, we're going to make a fortune. But obviously only like 2 people out of 100 went to the deli, so it went bust after, honestly, it went bust after a month. It was there for 1 month and left. Like, they were really excited about it, bless them, as well. So if you've got less customers come in, you're not going to make as much money. Now, I would argue this question is complete common sense, but just make sure, if the question says, you know, should a company set up out of town versus city centre, you've got to have 2 good things and 2 bad things for each one.